Guinea, Burkina Faso, etc., etc. Also, the threat of amendments to constitutions, to prolonged mandates on a personal basis. These are all potential threats to democracy, including the looming threats of military interventions. Although we know now in West Africa, and indeed in Africa, we have a zero tolerance for military interventions. Also, what he calls ethnic balkanization of politics is something we need to all continue to work against. He also emphasizes the importance of gender mainstreaming, empowering women and youth to play an active part in politics and also in the economy. We thank you, Mr. Prime Minister. We shall now cross the pond. We've been hearing from Africa and Europe. Now we'll go across the Atlantic to hear from our American guests who are here from us. And I think it's time now to call upon a very distinguished American diplomat, minister in several administrations as Assistant Secretary of State, an accomplished peace negotiator who has handled many, many challenging global conflicts, including in the Middle East. But I can't resist this. Just before we came here, those of you who watched TV, you saw this interview being conducted by a very renowned international journalist, Christiane Amanpour, who was having a conversation of Graça Machel, the wife of late Madiba Nelson Mandela. Well, that was just this morning. And as I watched it, I kept saying, oh, guess who is in Port Harcourt? The better half of Christiane Amanpour. As they say, behind every great man, there's a strong woman. Well, behind every strong woman or great woman too, there's a gracious gentleman. Assistant Secretary of State, James Rubin, you have the floor.
Oh, thank you very much. It's true we were watching the interview together and we were forced to leave, so I may get in some trouble when I go home. But let me say that we've heard from a great variety of people, from prime ministers, from presidents, from people who know the region and people who know the world, and I'm sensing that we are in a place we might call Davos on the Delta. But the goal of this discussion is for us to talk about, at least in my case, how Nigeria's integration with the world can come about. And one of the jobs I've had in government is often the skunk at the party, because I talk about some of the problems and some of the issues that people don't want to hear. And I think that often happens because people are not interested in helping, and it also happens when people are interested in helping. Friends sometimes have to tell their friends hard truths. And one of the hard truths right now relates to what you called, our moderator, the dominant narrative about Boko Haram and terrorism. And I think it's true that Nigeria has been a great success in the area of democracy, in entrepreneurship, in resource development of all this oil. We're in the oil capital of Nigeria right here. And that's a tribute to the work of the people of this country. But you need to understand that for the future, for many, many years in the future, people will remember this story of Boko Haram, and it will not go away. And it won't go away until one of two things happens. either this government or its successor makes a decision to actually confront the problem that has not been made, and it's hard. It's really, really hard to confront this kind of problem. And one day it's amnesty, the next day it's a military operation, the third day it's perhaps one that went wrong, and the extrajudicial killings that might have occurred. The other choice is to have help from the outside world, and that's very controversial too, because you're a proud people and you're right to be proud, and you don't need to be told how big the problem is, and you don't need to be seen as needing help from whether it's the French government, the American government, or the British government. But it may be that, at least in a few specific cases, you really need the help in the intelligence field and the technology field. But none of that will matter unless a strategic decision is made that until we solve this problem, every visitor, every interview with your leadership, every discussion of Nigeria by a journalist will be that dominant narrative. That's what a dominant narrative means. And you can't change it by emphasizing the positive. I worked with the journalists in the White House and the State Department. There was nothing I could do to get them to write a story about something positive while something negative was going on. It's impossible. And so this truth that I report to you is perhaps a little less happy in its talk than some of the other speakers, but I do it as a friend. I had no doubts about what I needed to say, but you need to know that you have the sympathy of the world, because let's remember what you're going through is the second generation of terrorism in the world, and everybody's going through it. In Iraq, it's called ISIS. They've taken over huge chunks of Iraq and Syria. In Yemen, it's called Al-Qaeda in the Arabian Peninsula. In the Maghreb, it's called AQIM. And there are others. There's still the real Al-Qaeda that's floating around a little bit in Pakistan's border with Afghanistan. But this is all the second generation. It's not Osama bin Laden. It's not 9/11. But all I can say to you is what I've seen reminds me of what happened to the United States in 1998, when the attacks from Al-Qaeda first happened in Kenya and Tanzania on our embassies. And we knew there was a problem. But those people who said it was time to take it to the next level were thought to be too hysterical. They were too crazy. Please don't wait for the next level. And that's what's coming. As bad as this was, there is always a next level. It doesn't require a lot of ingenuity. And so I say this as a friend. The truth about Africa and Nigeria's success is true. Until the world believes that your government is fully committed to this fight, till they can answer the question, yes, have we really used all the tools at our disposal to do this? If Nigeria's government can say yes, it will be because there has been a success, and then it will be your success and Africa's success. But until that day, when all the tools of government and all the effort and all the necessary work has been done, it won't happen. I think they will say yes. I think the Spanish Prime Minister spoke for everyone when he said that we will win. It's just a question of when. You will say yes at some point. So let's make it be sooner rather than later. And that's all I really thought I could offer in difference to the others. Thank you.
Thank you very much. A friend talking some hard truth.